Okay, so here we are back with our question. How should social and economic opportunities, rewards, and honors be distributed? Historically, we've answered this question within the framework of equality of opportunity and merit. The idea that we should eliminate all the obstacles and barriers standing in the way of people pursuing these things and then allow them an equal opportunity to pursue them, and then distribute or allocate these opportunities and rewards and honors based on merit, based on the idea that those who earn them should receive them. And the assumption here is that when we do this, when we elevate the best and the brightest and the highest performing to positions that come with these opportunities, rewards, and honors, we all benefit. Okay, so we want really smart, highly disciplined, highly motivated, high-performing people in medical school because they're going to be able to learn a lot in medical school. And then we want those same kinds of people exiting medical school. That way, we'll have a really robust medical field to take care of us all, and we all benefit from that. That means that we want the best and the brightest in those positions, even though that's going to mean they get honors and rewards and opportunities that others don't. And you can see the same sort of thing going on with, for example, sports teams, tryouts. We want to make sure that the people that take the field are the best, the best performing, the highest performing athletes. Why? Well, because they're going to be able to play the game the best. And if they're able to play the game the best against other teams that also have really good players, then we all benefit by getting to watch really good athletes play the game. And we won't have boring games where one team just crushes the other, okay? So through the framework of equality of opportunity and merit, we're going to be distributing these things based on whatever criteria is relevant to determine excellence that's related to the opportunities and honors and rewards that we're seeking to distribute. Now, of course, you recognize that not everybody begins in the same place. Some people are born with a really high IQ, some people are not. Some people are born tall, some people are not. Some people are born physically healthy, some people are not. Some people are born rich, some people are not. And these kinds of things give some an advantage in the pursuit of these opportunities, rewards, and honors. And these features that give them advantages in this pursuit means that an equal opportunity to pursue these things does not equal an equal opportunity to earn them. And that's caused some to say, well, that's unfair, because these features that are giving them this advantage are not features that they earn. They're just features they were born with. And this kind of an unfair advantage sort of makes the equal opportunity to pursue these things inherently unfair, because there's not an equal opportunity or an equal ability to earn these honors. And so folks make the claim we shouldn't be operating within the framework of equality of opportunity and merit. Instead, we should be operating within the framework of equity or equality of outcome. And if you've been kind of paying attention the last few years, you'll hear lots of people talking about DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's a rejection of equality of opportunity and merit. And it's an embrace of the idea that we need to begin with the assumption that not everybody has an equal opportunity to earn these rewards, honors, and opportunities. And so we need to allocate resources in a way that gives everybody the opportunity to earn these things, and we have equality of outcome, not just equality of opportunity. And you can see there's this real famous cartoon that was making the rounds a while back, and you have here in this first panel, you can see there are these three kids that are watching what looks like a soccer game, and they're all of different heights, but they all have the same size box, okay? Now you can see this person here probably doesn't even need the box, but gets the box anyway. And you can see that this person needs the box, got the box, great. But here's this other person over here who actually can't even use the box. And so this person doesn't get to see the game. And so they all have an equal opportunity. They all have the same box, the argument goes. But the fact that they have an equality of opportunity is sort of meaningless, because they don't have an equal ability to earn the opportunity to see the game. So what do? Well, the argument goes, well, we should redistribute the resources so that everyone has an equal outcome and they're all able to see the game. So this person gives up the box, and this person gets the box. And then the box, which is no help to the student in the wheelchair, is replaced by a ramp. So we allocate the resource in a way that generates inequality of outcome. Now, of course, there's a criticism of the equity or equality of outcome framework, just like there's a criticism of the equality of opportunity and merit framework. And the criticism is this, is that in theory, right, this could work to redistribute the resources and to allocate the resources and opportunities in a way that creates an equality of outcome. But oftentimes, our efforts to try to create an equality of outcome that elevates everybody up ends up bringing everybody down. And you can see that illustrated here in this version of the cartoon, where it's equity in theory. Yes, they can all see the game, but in reality, what ends up happening is everybody kind of gets hurt, right? So everybody's got their legs cut off here, and now nobody can see the game. So you've got this equality of outcome, equity, but it's not the outcome that you wanted. And an interesting sort of a real world example of this is what's been happening with prerequisite courses in the California community college system. So it used to be the case, if you've been around long enough, you'll know this. It used to be the case that to take a course like English 1A, you had to take an assessment. You had to take a test that in which you demonstrated that you had the requisite skills, the required skills to begin doing the work in English 1A and have a reasonable chance of successfully completing it. And if you didn't have, you weren't able to demonstrate that you had those requisite skills, you had to take what was called a prerequisite course. In other words, a course, or maybe even two courses, that were below English 1A that would allow you the opportunities to develop the skills that you needed to have as you begin English 1A. And thinking was, well, if we take you back and we go over the skills that you need to have at the very beginning of English 1A, then you'll have your best chance of success at completing English 1A successfully. The problem, though, was that even though there was an equality of opportunity to get into English 1A, there was not an equality of outcome. And what turned out to be the case was that there was a disproportionate number of students who were not placing into English 1A and having to take those prerequisite courses. Students from low socioeconomic backgrounds and ethnic minorities were predominantly the students being placed in the courses below English 1A. So we don't have an equality of outcome. So the state legislature said you can no longer have that prerequisite. They passed a law, AB 705. You can no longer have that prerequisite on English 1A. You have to allow anybody who wants to take English 1A to take English 1A, and then your job is to figure out a way to allocate resources into toward the students who wouldn't have ordinarily placed into English 1A to help them be successful, right? In other words, you got to give those students that need the boxes in order to be able to complete English 1A successfully. Now, can you imagine what has happened as a result of this? So if you're thinking in your mind, well, probably one of two things or maybe both things. You have a lot of students entering into English 1A without the prerequisite skills who aren't able to successfully complete it and then therefore fail the course, or get so intimidated at the beginning by being asked to do work that they don't know how to do that they end up dropping out, or the standards get dropped in order to make sure that there is an equality of outcome in the completion rates for English 1A. And if you thought those two things, you'd be absolutely right. That's exactly what has happened. So you can see that the idea was, hey, we're going to give everybody a boost in English 1A, and those who don't have the skills, we're going to build up by giving them these boxes here. And what ends up happening is that everybody kind of suffers, because the students that are able to do the work in English 1A are now having to work with students who don't have the skills to work in that class, and then nobody is able to go as far as they would if they were working with groups of students who all had the prerequisites skills. The author, Kurt Vonnegut, had a really interesting take on this very idea. Gosh, I think this was back in the 70s. He wrote this story called Harrison Bergeron. There's a really crappy movie that's not worth watching. But the idea of the story is this. So here's a passage from it. The year was 2081, and everybody was finally equal. They weren't only equal before God and the law. They were equal every which way. Nobody was smarter than anybody else. Nobody was better looking than anybody else. Nobody was stronger or quicker. than anybody else. All this equality was due to the 211th, 12th, and 13th Amendments to the Constitution and to the unceasing vigilance of the agents of the United States Handicapper General. Okay, so what happens in this world? How is equality achieved? The equality is achieved by bringing those who are up down, not by elevating those who are down up. So if you're really beautiful and you're really graceful and you're really athletic, you have to wear weights on your arms and a mask to cover your face. And that way, nobody is prettier than anybody else. If you're really strong, you have to have weights that you carry around with you. That'll make sure that nobody is able to move any faster than anybody else. If you're really smart, you have to wear this headpiece that sends this really high-pitched pinging into your ear every 10 seconds or so that you can't maintain a train of thought. And that way, nobody is able to think any better than anybody else. Okay, so now as you think about all of this, the question again, we're coming back to our definition of fairness. It's a justifiable distribution of risks, rewards, and suffering. And the question for you is this: are you willing to accept inequalities in athletics, celebrity status, educational opportunities, job offers, income, access to housing and healthcare? Are you willing to allow a certain amount of inequality in those areas? And if you are, what's the justification that you would have for distributing the risks, the rewards, the sufferings in the ways that allow those inequalities to persist?